elbow and drop it straight down. And drop it straight down. Using the image. When we experiment with our elbow strike, we quickly see that there's two methods that can be employed here. The first uses a hooking action where the elbow extends to the side beyond the body line and then travels to the front. The second method extends in the forward direction like a linear thrust and then pulls across to the chest and rises. The primary difference between these two is the space required to perform them. I like them both, but in my kata and here at my dojo, I teach the second method, which is extend to the front, pull back and rise. So if you imagined a wall right here, I could perform this elbow with less space and not run into that. Sometimes there are objects in the way that preclude us from rotating. So I like learning to make this technique in a small space. It lacks no power because it's augmented by the rest of the body, and it's explosive. You can always hook if you want to, but I wanted to start with that detail. So the kata introduces us to the first transition where we leave sanshindachi and enter a lower, deeper stance. Okay, we'll cover that in a moment, but let's begin with examining the elbow strike. As I said earlier, every technique in the kata is preceded by a circle block. This circle block is one of the two exceptions in the kata where we block over the rear leg. We'll be transitioning in our stance, and the block, when we finish moving, is over the rear side. So we'll look at the circle block, but let's put that away for a moment. So the elbow strike, I'm going to think of this as a punch where I come to the front of my body. Once I'm at this position, I'm then going to pull my fist back at 45 degrees and it will lift. It finishes approximately at the height of my shoulder, okay? And I like to bend this wrist so I can create a little more extension or range of motion. I also like relaxing this wrist because it helps me whip my elbow more. So this is just a personal preference of mine. I will say though that aesthetically, this versus this doesn't look as sharp, okay? But I yield that point because function is more important to me than form in this case. So at the completion of my circle block, the hand that received the attack now enters the center line and I strike my own palm. The purpose of the hand is to, one, symbolize the body part that you're striking, and two, to push a larger concept or principle, which is whatever is between your hands, you can strike. I made this point in my Seisan video that if you strike your hands together, whether it's above your head, in front, behind, under a leg, while turning, you're never going to miss. So the idea is if I can put things between my hands and then close the space, I can guarantee at a very high level that I'll make contact. So in Kanshiwa, I'm striking in front of the body, making contact on the palm. I'll pull up my sleeve here so you can see. Out, here. Okay? I think it's important to strike hard. That being said, if you're someone who wears jewelry while training, particularly wedding bands, be careful because I actually chipped my elbow striking my wedding band. The wedding band didn't bend because it was made of platinum, but I chipped my own elbow. The idea is to strike hard. This is like a cannon before I transition to my urigen. So let's look at the pieces. One and. One and. One and. From the side. It starts in the same position as a sanshin nukite. So it's high up on my rib cage, shoulder down, hand arm parallel with the floor. Out, and then whip. Out, whip. Out. I like to think of coming out and then diving with my wrist. Diving here. And what that does is it lifts the elbow. So I think of switching places. Hand to the chest, elbow to the hand. These little tricks you can play with your thoughts really make a difference. After my elbow strike, I'm now going to drop my elbow. Now it's important that we think for a moment about the anatomy of the body. When you strike with the elbow, you'll be right here on your opponent, approximately. Directly above that is the face. Now, it's not far away. So if the chest is here, I'll do it from the side. If the chest is here, their face is here. So if you were to open, the target is right there. Now there's two generally accepted methods for practicing the back fist.